morning and welcome to Breastfeeding. My name's Chris. I'm one of the registered nurses here at Hoag. We're going to be tackling breastfeeding. Now we have done this and it's in the archive and it's a longer class. This is going to be more of a condensed version. So picking out what you mostly have your questions about, which is latch, positioning, how do I know the baby's getting enough, how do I know my baby's hungry, how do I know my baby's had enough. So we're going to condense that down, but you are able to access that where we talk about benefits. I actually had a quiz for you. Benefits, those first few days, important days with colostrum, that first milk. So don't hesitate to go look for that. That said, here at Hoag Hospital, I work in what's called OB education. And in OB education, we are all registered nurses. We are all what is called IBCLC, and that stands for Internationally Board Certified Lactation Consultants. So a lot of words to say that breasts are our life. It's what we do. And we're here to help you. So you might see me walk into your room. There's one of me upstairs helping moms who, after they have delivered, every day of the year. Last week, actually, I just walked into a room and the dad said, "You were our live stream teacher." And I said, "I do that." And how he recognized me when I had my mask on, I'm not sure, but he did. So you might see me walk in there. We have a breastfeeding clinic. Once you go home from the hospital, questions, concerns about breastfeeding, you can always make an appointment to come back in and see us. In days of COVID, we have cut down on the number we're seeing to keep it very safe for you. So there's no overlapping with our moms coming in. So keep that in mind. We've got that. We've also have availability to you through what's called the baby line. And if you've watched any of our stream classes, you know we talk baby line, baby line, baby line. Baby line is a helpline you can call with any questions you have about anything. Your pregnancy, your recovery mom after the baby's born, breastfeeding, the umbilical cord, my baby has a rash, I'm going back to work, what do I do now? Don't hesitate to check in with us. That's what we do. The number, I'll give it to you, and we'll also put it on the feed, but it's 949-764-2229. Again, 949-764-2229. It's basically 764-BABY. It's an easy way to remember it with that. So that's a little bit about what I do in my professional life. I am a fortunate mom of 3 Hoag babies. I have twin boys, and then 3 years later had my daughter. So any twin parents out there, I see you for that. So we're here to support you through all that. So getting started, we're going to talk about some hunger cues. How do you know your baby's hungry? Crying is actually a late cue. Crying is one someone thinks about. Crying is pretty obvious, right? Crying is your baby's communication to you saying something's going on here. I'm hungry, my diaper's wet, some babies care, some don't. This pajamas are scratching me, and sometimes we don't know that. I'm just having a bad day. But hunger is a big one. But when they're crying, they're telling you, I'm kind of mad you waited too long to feed me. Now, you are going to be waking your baby up to feed them until your pediatrician says that you can go longer or that baby can go longer. And that's not before the 2-week mark. So in the hospital, all babies lose weight. We expect that. And then we give them 10 to 14 days to pop back up to that. So once you go to that 2-week appointment, most pediatricians will have you come back in the first few days after going home, and then they'll have you come back in at that 2-week mark. At the 2-week mark, now I'm not talking about a really low birth weight baby, I'm not talking about a preemie, I'm talking about kind of our textbook average kind of baby back to birth weight. That's when the pediatrician's gonna say, okay, now you don't have to wake your baby up at night. You can let them sleep. But for those first couple weeks, I definitely want you waking that baby up. Don't let them go over 3 hours. So you're going to have to set your alarms to get up. Now, sometimes in pregnancy, nature starts preparing us. Your moms out there, you might be nodding your head when you hear this, but how many of you are getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom? And if you're not, you soon will be. And as you get closer to your due date, also you get up more frequently. And it's nature's way of just preparing us for that baby who's going to be getting up. So we're feeding at least twice at night. That's what babies need. So babies eat 8 to 12 times a day. And that sounds like a lot, and it is. That's what they do. So it's really, really, really important that you guys become day sleepers and learn how to take naps during the day. So back to those hunger cues. Crying is a late cue. Once your doctor's given you the go-ahead, you're going to let them cry. But in the beginning, when you're learning how to do this, so breastfeeding is no different than learning to ride a bike, right? Learning to dance. I always tell moms, you're learning to dance, and what are you doing at first? You're forgetting that routine. Oh, I forgot to go left and I went right. Or stepping on each other's toes, falling down, and pretty soon you're doing the tango. And that's the way breastfeeding is too. So when you're learning how to do this, catch them with the early feeding cues. What are early feeding cues? A baby smacks their mouth. That little tongue might come out. You're holding them and the baby's rooting. I always say partners holding the baby and you're like, whoa, I can't help you, as the baby's like, trying to find where's that breast. The baby's starting to tell you that I'm hungry. Hands to the mouth. Baby's there. When a baby is full, it looks like us after a big meal, right? You're just like, whoa. After Thanksgiving, that's how a baby should look. When a baby comes off the breast, the baby should either go straight back to sleep or look like us after Thanksgiving. They just look, oh, I'm just in that food coma, okay? So with those hunger cues, look for those. When you have a calm baby, you have a calm mommy. You're going to get really, really good. But again, you need that couple weeks of practice doing this. I've had moms say to me, I thought this was the most natural thing in the world. This is kind of hard. And I go, it is the most natural thing in the world, but it doesn't mean that there's not a learning curve to it. And sometimes I think that we're so hard on ourselves in thinking we should just know this right away. And remember, you also have a baby who's never done this before. They've never even felt hunger cues before. And all of a sudden they have to work for food. They didn't just come to a new country, they came to a new planet. And so for them, they just have to start adjusting with that. So they do eat frequently. I mentioned they eat 8 to 12 times a day, which is about every 1.5 to 3 hours. Again, we are not letting them go over the 3-hour mark until the pediatrician gives us the go-ahead. And babies do what we call cluster feeds. So they'll go 3 hours, 2, 2.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, usually in the evening hours, usually what we call the witching hours, which is 4 p.m. to 1 a.m. That's a tough time of day. Babies have been overstimulated. They aren't sure what to do, and they just want to be with their mom. They know your smell from being inside. If they had their choice, they would live right here all day long. But of course, you need a break. You need to eat, sleep, and take a shower too. So that's when you pass that baby off to your partner or put them down, when they're sleeping, and that's when you sneak in those showers and food, or napping. You should be napping every time a baby sleeps. Try to sneak in some naps if you're not eating or taking a shower. I always say do the one you haven't done for a while with that. So our babies are very immature, human babies. They need to be held, they need to be carried, they need to be fed frequently. If you look at the animal world out there, animals have to learn how to walk very, very quickly. Why? Because that deer says, I got to stand up and run because a lion is coming to eat me. Where think how long it takes humans to walk. It takes them a very long time. So we are mature, and our milk is different for them, human milk for human babies. That said, we're not cows, right? So cows are trying to grow a 2,000-pound animal, not a 150-pound human or thereabouts with that. So we do need to hold them definitely a lot with that. I'm going to get into some positions and latching here to show you, and we'll talk a lot about that. I'm putting on, this is my favorite breastfeeding pillow here. It stays where it's supposed to. It's got back support here. The ones you can get are way prettier covers than this, that's for sure. I've got my baby here. So when my baby wakes up, baby's starting smacking, right? That little tongue coming out. Maybe your partner goes over, picks the baby up. wakes the baby up, changes the baby. When I want a baby to wake up, I sit that baby up, and my little hand is right in their chin here, and I'm waking them up. So I do lots of rubs and pats. And what I'm looking for here, because maybe the baby didn't wake up, maybe I'm coming up on that 3-hour mark, and I need this baby to feed. So we're going to wake that baby up. Usually the first thing you do is unswaddle them. So your baby's swaddled. They love to be swaddled because they remember what it was like to be inside. Unswaddle them. You'll see they start stretching, moving. Sit them up to burp them. You'll see those eyes flutter, start looking around. If you get a burp, it's a bonus. I'm doing this more to wake them up. Now, if the partner's doing this, Mom, what are you doing? Getting ready, start even doing some breast massage, hand expressing with a little bit of breast milk there. We're good to go from that. So waking the baby up, and then I'm going to bring the baby over. So I've got the baby here. So this is called a cross cradle position. With my cross cradle, you don't have to remember names, that's not important, but you can see how I'm holding the baby here. My hand is not on the back of the head. My hand is right here. And I'm using that back to help guide that baby. Now, a big part of it too is when you're first-time parents, you know, some of you may not have even held a newborn before. And so there is a learning curve to that. Babies will break, but it's hard to break them. So it's all a learning curve. You know, that's why we always call our first baby our practice baby, because, you know, we are learning how to do this. So it's your comfort level of learning how to pick this baby up. So the baby's tucking in. I got this little arm wrapping around me here. This one, usually their hands are up in their face with that. So partners can help with that. I've got the baby here. I'm reaching underneath like a U. Now, you need to mold your breast to the baby's mouth, right? You pull into In-N-Out Burger, you have that big burger. What do you have to do with it? You have to smush it down to mold it into your mouth, right? You don't hold it like this. Just like if I had a taco, I don't hold it straight on, right? I have to lean into it. So you're molding that breast to the baby's mouth. And I'm using that nipple to tickle that baby's mouth. So I've got that baby tickling that mouth, wait for that wide open mouth. Now, some babies just want to, you know, barely open their mouth, but that's when a baby's going to grab that nipple and suck on, and that's how you could end up with potentially sore nipples. And we don't want to do that. We want to wait for that wide open mouth so the baby gets back here, not grabbing that nipple. Okay, so baby's on. Now, when a baby first gets on, they do these short little fast sucks, and as soon as that milk, what we call lets down or comes out to the baby, they go into this beautiful, huge, you'll see all these muscles in their temple working, their whole jaw's going down. That's what we call a nutritive suck. That's a baby who's really going to town. And then what you'll see is they'll pause, and that's a swallow, or you'll start hearing little, it's like a little sigh. And what they'll do is they'll stop, and then they'll pick up and they'll suck, and then they'll stop. And now as they start getting a little bit in their tummy, and these young ones especially, they go, time for a little nap. And so they'll just stop. So I hear all the time, oh my gosh, my baby just falls asleep. And I go, of course, being at mom's breast is the best place to be in the whole world. But you've got to keep them awake because they want to live there 24/7. Mom can't have the baby live there 24/7. You need to eat, sleep, and take a shower like we talked about before. So doing something to remind your baby to pick up their fork and keep going. I tell people all the time when they say, well, they stop. And I go, well, I know, but we do too, right? We put down our fork, we drink some water, we talk, we pick up our fork, we eat some more. But you have to remind them, pick up your fork and keep going. Okay? So what can we do? Mom, you've got that thumb over there. Gently massage that breast. It shoots a little bit of milk in there. The baby goes, oh, that's right, I was eating. Startles them and they pick up. And when they pick up, you watch what they do. Going back to those big sucks means they're getting milk. If they just keep doing these little 2, 3, 4 sucks, that means you're like a pacifier because babies are so much smarter than we are. Overeating is a learned behavior. So we have to learn how to overeat, right? Which sometimes we do. I did that last night. I had dinner with my daughter. Oh, it was so good. I went back for seconds, knowing full well I didn't need it. A baby won't do that. A baby says, I'm hungry. I suck like this. I'm not hungry. I do these little 2, 3, 4 fluttery sucks. You're going to get really good at saying, oh, that's a fluttery suck. Oh, that's the baby's just using me as a pacifier. That's when I give them a couple chances. If not, I take them off. They don't go back to those big sucks. Take them off, sit them up. We're going to burp them, wake them up, offer them the second breast. Okay? Other ways to keep a baby at the breast awake. This is where partners can help. If your partner's not with you today, have them watch this. We've got lots of jobs for them. Rub the bottom of the baby's foot. Sometimes that works. Now, these don't always work on all babies, so you find what your baby responds to, but their feet, they don't like their feet messed with. So usually they'll jerk it a little bit, and then they go, oh, that's right, I was eating, and they pick up again and go. So partners can be rubbing feet. That little arm, pump it. I call it, it's like the chicken wing there. That startles them a little bit. Sometimes I'll just tap right under the chin here. Ooh, watch what they do. They go, that's right, I was eating, and they pick up again and go. Blow in their face. Mom, you've got that thumb right here. Tickle them on the jawline. Anything to remind them, pick up your fork and keep going. If I had a textbook baby, kind of an average baby, spends about 10 to 15 minutes on each breast, because we always offer both breasts, but you have to watch the baby, not the clock. And I know from my own 3. One was done in 5 or 6 minutes each breast. My third was done never before 20 minutes each breast. I called her my little gourmet. So they all just take their time with that. So letting her go, watch for those big sucks, starting to listen for those swallows. Again, in the beginning, that thicker milk, sometimes it's harder to hear, but you'll see that long pause, and then they pick up again. If she keeps going back to those little fluttery sucks, or nothing you do, tickle the feet, lift the arm up and down, rubbing the back, tap, tap, nothing, break suction. I'm just going to pull right in the corner. Now, most books or videos and stuff will tell you gently put your finger in the baby's mouth. I don't like to do that. It's not my baby. If your hands are clean, you can do that. But I'll tell you, 9 out of 10 babies, I can get off just by pulling right in the corner of their mouth. And you'll hear a little, and they break suction, take them off. Now, your partner's there. Pass the baby to the partner. Partners, you're going to sit the baby up to burp them. Why am I going to do that? Because I want her to wake up to go to the second side. Okay? Mom, what are you doing? Your hand expressing a little bit of breast milk, dabbing it on your nipple. It heals sore nipples, prevents sore nipples, kills bacteria. It's amazing stuff. While your partner's still waking that baby up, mom can go to the other side, start doing some breast massage, waking all those ducts, everything up to tell the body we need to go on that side. If you get a burp, it's a bonus. We usually say a minute or 2. If you don't get one, move on. Again, especially with these early ones, I'm doing this more to wake them up. Okay, so let's try it under the arm. They call it, you football fans, we call it the football hold. So if I have pillows, and you don't need a fancy breastfeeding pillow. I mean, look, I'm a lactation consultant, so this would be on the top of my list. And actually, I was invited to a virtual baby shower, and what do you think I sent her? Yeah, that's what I did. But you can use regular pillows. In the hospital, I would leave it at home. You're not here that long. We're going to bring you tons of pillows to prop that baby up with that. Even with this, if I need room, I would slip another pillow under here to hold it up here, but you always want it at your level. Partners, I'm telling you, one of your mantras to mommy is going to be sit back, sit back, sit back. Because as women, we tend to want to lean in to feed the baby that way instead of bringing the baby to us. Even if the baby is here like this, see there's space, take a receiving blanket and just push it under there. That's more for mom, and it lets her relax that shoulder down and gets a good latch. So going under the arm, I'm going to turn this to the side, and she's going to be here. Now, some babies do better on their side, some like it on the back. No matter how we are, again, I'm molding that breast to the baby's mouth. So if she's on the side, I'm kind of wrapping. Those arms could be anywhere. She wants, sometimes tucking it in there, coming around. Again, tickling that mouth, waiting. Little mouth? No, I'm waiting for that wide open mouth. Why? So she gets deep on the breast and not just on the nipple. Remember, this is called breastfeeding. It's not nipple feeding. Baby goes on. What does she do? She starts with that little suck. As soon as she gets that milk, she's got that beautiful, I've got 3 pieces of gum in my mouth suck where that jaw's really moving and starting to hear those swallows. Now, If I had a textbook baby, I think a textbook baby tends to spend more time on the first breast than the second breast because they're more hungry. So they tend to take most of their feed on the first breast. We always offer the second breast. And that's why when we go to start the next feed, so let's say within 3 hours later, I would start with the one I left off with. So I started on the left, I went to the right, baby went to sleep. When the baby comes back, I'm going to put the baby on the right and then switch to the left, then go to sleep. Left, right. Make sense? Yes, so always offering both breasts. Don't get too tied up into the clock. So I talked about a textbook baby spending about 10 to 15 minutes on each breast, but I don't want you knowing the baby's doing just those little short sucks and all of a sudden saying, oh, but I got 7 more minutes. No, it's better to take her off, sit her up, wake her up, put her back on, or go to the other side than it is to leave her there where you know she's just using you as a pacifier for that. So if the baby's coming up, it's more a C hold, again, molding it to a baby's mouth versus that baby coming across. But always bringing the baby to you. Mom sits back, bring the baby up. Partners, you see space, you're rolling up something, putting it under there for that baby. Okay? So how do we know that she's getting enough? And those are just 2 positions we just talked about. Laying down is a great one. I call laying down advanced breastfeeding. I always say it's like a 300 series class versus a 100 series because sometimes it takes a mom who feels a little more confident doing it. Also a baby who can help you and knows what they're doing because they do learn. They learn, oh, right now they look at the breast and don't know that's dinner. They soon learn, oh yeah, that's my food source. And so they help you. So if you do try it and it seems awkward or uncomfortable, don't just throw it out the window. Maybe give yourself some time and then try again or have your partner help you with the baby. Again, like anything, it just takes practice. You didn't ride a bike that first time either. It just takes some practice with that. So how do we know she had enough? I put her, she was on both breasts, right? She seems content after coming off. So what am I going to do? Change her diaper if she needs it, swaddle her back, put her down. Sometimes these young ones don't always just go right back to sleep because they're used to movement. They had 9 months of being moved with you, and so it's kind of silly of us to think that we should put this baby into a box, being the crib, and that they should go straight to sleep. They learn it, but it takes them a while. So don't fret thinking, oh my gosh, this baby's going to be spoiled or this baby's never going to fall asleep on her own. She's going to. It's just a matter of time. Everything's about time and patience. So this baby seems content to me. She went on both breasts. I saw those big, I've got 3 pieces of gum in my mouth sucks. I heard those swallows. She isn't showing me those hunger cues, right? If she comes off the breast and she's still frantic and trying, I'm going to put her back on. I tell women all the time, you have more than 2 breasts because sometimes we're using 4, sometimes we're using 3. If that baby's super sleepy, I'm going to take that baby off in 5 minutes, wake her up, either put her back on or keep switching if that's what keeps her awake. And I'm telling you in the beginning, your biggest challenge is keeping that baby awake and actively sucking. So how do I know she's gotten enough? Well, I'm feeding at least 8 times, right? 8 to 12 is normal for this baby in the first few months. She should be able to go at least 1.5 hours in between feeds. So if I started at 12, she should be able to go until 1:30. I don't care how long it takes you to feed, and we shouldn't go over an hour, but she should be able to go at least until 1:30, not over 3. I'm going to go over that again. If I fed her at 12, because we count the feeds from the start of one to the start of the next. So if I feed at 12, I can't let her go past 3, right? So let's do some math. 8 times 3 is 24. So if I was feeding on the dot every 3 hours, I would get in those 8 feeds. But again, babies go 3 hours, 2 hours, 2.5, 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, which is why I look at the whole clock. I don't just look at, oh, part of the day. I look at the whole 24 hours. 8 to 12 times a day, about every 1.5 to 3 hours, watching diapers. Diapers is huge. Whatever goes in has to come out. So for a 1-day-old baby, 1 wet diaper, one dirty diaper. One pee, one poop. That's all I'm looking for. Day 2, 2 of each. Day 3, yep, 3 of each. They keep going up. At the end of the first week, the baby is on about 6 to 8 wet diapers I'm looking for in a 24-hour period, at least 3 poops. Okay? And the color changes. It goes from black to dark green to light green. You wonder what this stuff is coming out of your baby as they get rid of all the amniotic fluid and everything. 100% breastfed stool looks like, we call it a mustard stool. It's a yellowish color. It looks seedy. It almost looks like sesame seeds in there. Someone might go, are you eating bagels? Like, what does their poop look like that? And it does look kind of seedy. That's normal breastfed stool. Sometimes moms will call baby line and say, I think my baby has diarrhea. How old's your baby? 2 weeks old. Yeah, what color is it? Mustardy, yellow. Yeah, you're 100% breastfeeding? Yeah, that's normal. It's not more formed like formula would be more pasty, more brown, and smells like poop. Breastfed stool does not smell like poop. That's one of the benefits for breastfeeding. So we've got the times, how long they're going, what I'm not letting them go over an hour. Babies get really, really good and start narrowing down, for the most part, how long they are at the breast. So how many times a day I'm feeding, how long they go in between diapers, huge. And then, of course, weight gain. Again, all babies lose weight in the beginning. We give them that 10 to 14 days to come back up, and then they go. We should be gaining, after you leave the hospital, I want to see about an ounce a day or half a pound a week of that. But don't be alarmed when your baby loses that weight in the beginning. We give them up to 8 to 10% weight loss while they're in the hospital. So that's how to tell they're getting enough. We talked about some positions and latch. Let me tell you that it's all about the latch. And that's what relieving sore nipples. In the last class that we had, we did talk about some sore nipples. I tend to get a lot of questions about that. You start out with a good latch in the beginning, and that's going to go away. What I want you guys to take today is that you don't have to live through sore nipples. Don't let anyone tell you that you get sore nipples. Just expect it. It's going to happen, because sore nipples usually means the baby's not latching correctly. So we talked a little bit about that latch. When that baby's latched on, from the top of their lip to the bottom should be open at least an inch. If they have pursed lips, and for partners, you and I have a better view than mom does. So when mom's holding that baby, our angle is a lot better. And if you see that baby's mouth just open a little bit, that's not a good latch. And that's a baby who's just getting on the nipple, and that potentially sets mom up for sore nipples. So no, you don't have to live through bleeding, cracked blisters. Please, please, please know that is not normal. So talking through that, like I said, go back if you want, talking about benefits, colostrum, that first milk. I addressed a lot more of that in the first class. This just focusing on those things we get so many questions about. So I am going to open it up for questions and see. Kim, did we have any questions?
So we just have one so far.
Okay.
So remember to repeat the question. It was a twin mom who wanted to know if she should bring in her twin breastfeeding pillow, but I thought maybe you could mention feeding one at a time versus tandem right off.
Yeah. Okay, so I had a twin mom. So hi, twin mom. I'm not playing favorites. About should you bring in your big pillow. I'm on the fence about that. Part of me wants to say yes, and part of me wants to say no. They are big, they are cumbersome. And the thing is our beds, beds are flat. Our bed comes up like this. And this is true for a mom with a single too, because if you try to put the pillow on while you're in the bed with it coming up, it kind of gets in the way. So I'm thinking I'm going to say no. We're going to bring in tons of pillows for you. Do you know with twins, usually the first time, the goal is to get to tandem, which is feeding them both at the same time. But usually in the beginning, until everyone's had practice, it's feed one, feed the other one, still done within an hour with that. But if you have other questions about that, you definitely can check in on the baby line too. For all of you, if you have any questions at all, you can always call our baby line, burning questions, or, oh, I wish I'd asked that question. And we didn't cover it. So, any other questions?
How about this one? Who can help me breastfeed when I'm in the hospital? And what are the wide variety of resources when I'm discharged?
Okay, good. So there was the question of who can help me and do I have to see a lactation consultant while I'm in the hospital? No. So the good news is all of our staff is trained in lactation. Any nurse who comes in contact with you has been trained in lactation. My department, OB-Ed, and the lactation consultants are there to help the babies who just have a little more trouble getting to the breast. So we don't see every mom who comes in, and I'll tell you, like I tell people all the time, you don't want to see me. Usually if you see me, it means there's an issue. That said, sometimes I'm just not that busy. And so I'm asking nurses to go see people because I want to spend time with you guys. But all of our staff is going to help you while you're here. You've got the baby line when you go home. You have the clinic. We have something called Pacify. Pacify is an app that we give to every mom who delivers at Hoag. And what that is you can FaceTime 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with any of your breastfeeding concerns. So your pediatricians know us. They like you to check in with Babyline during our hours, which are Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. But weekends, 10 at night, 2 in the morning, you have questions, you're going to have that Pacify app, and you're going to be able to FaceTime with a lactation consultant. And they are also IBCLC or internationally board certified like we are here at Hoag also. Question on COVID. For COVID, the CDC and the WHO say that a woman who has tested positive continues to breastfeed. So if you have tested positive, there's no reason not to breastfeed. So you are going to keep breastfeeding with that. Of course, you would always do good hand washing, as all of us should, and wear a mask while you breastfeed for that. Anything else?
If I'm breastfeeding and my other breast is letting down, is it okay to collect that milk? Should I collect that milk?
Okay, so good question. If I'm breastfeeding on, say, the left and the right side is we call a letdown, which means the milk's coming out. Should I be collecting that milk, or is that a good idea to collect that milk? So in the beginning, the baby doing their job is the best regulator of your supply. So there's new products out there. Usually they're for an older baby, because some of them, we have to be careful with the ones that put reverse pressure, because then it's like a pump. And in a perfect world, I don't want you pumping for 3 to 4 weeks. Let the baby do their job of establishing your supply. Let the baby have practice breastfeeding. And then we're going to introduce pumping if that's something you choose to do with that. And that said, we do have a pumping class coming up next Wednesday, which is, there's called Pumping 2.0. And it's on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And we're going to address all kinds of pumping, when to start, why would we start, what do we do, storage, all that. So be careful with those products, because if you put pressure on that other breast, it's like it could be telling your body you have twins when you only have a single. And oversupply doesn't sound like a bad thing, but it could be. It sets you up for some stuff we don't want to get into. So with that, no, your body learns to adjust. Some women do leak, some don't. With that, we call it press or pray. So if you're feeding, let's say I'm feeding my baby on the left, the other side, you could just, if you gently push back just for a few seconds, usually that's enough to tell the body, no, we don't have twins, we're just feeding one with that. As your baby gets older, we don't have a worry about oversupply. Then some of those products, and again, the ones that don't put the reverse pressure, I don't have an issue with those either, that you could use those. Anything else, Kim?
Yeah, I think we have 2 more.
Okay.
Somebody wants to know, what are the best foods to help produce breast milk?
Okay, so what are the best foods to produce breast milk? What you eat is basically it. Anything you can eat. If I've heard more misnomers about food and breastfeeding, it's that. Questions about, I can't eat this, I can eat this. As I always say, broccoli gets a bad rap. For some reason, people say you can't eat broccoli while breastfeeding. You can eat anything you want in moderation. All the foods that your doctors have told you not to eat while pregnant, it's okay to eat while breastfeeding. So yes, sushi is a big one we see coming into the hospital, or moms talking about, as soon as I get home, I'm getting Postmates and we're having sushi with that. So anything you want in moderation. Yes, there are some foods that can help produce milk. If we have a mom who has a supply issue, we'll tell her whole grains, oatmeal being a big one, oatmeal, brown rice, barley, quinoas, those, dark leafy greens. There's some spices, turmeric, garlic and ginger can help, but those in of themselves to help a mom with a low supply is not going to do it. You know what the number one way to make milk is? Stimulation. The more you take out, the more the body makes. It's like an ice machine. So you have a party, what's happening? That everyone's taking ice out of that machine, and so the ice machine is making more ice. Okay, now go on vacation. No one's taking ice out, the ice machine quits making ice. That's what the breasts do. The more you take out, so you have 2 babies full time, the body makes milk for babies, 2 babies full time. You have 1 baby, maybe part time, because now I'm going back to work and I say I can't pump at work. Do I have to give up completely? No. You can feed your baby at 6 in the morning and 6 at night and pump in between. Now there is a way we gradually get there, and that's why you check in with us on Baby Line, but supply and demand is what's making that milk with that.
Questions are coming in. If my milk hasn't come in yet, are babies fed formula until my milk comes in?
Okay, so the question of when my milk comes in and if it hasn't come in, do we give formula and this? I did address this a lot in the first class. We talked a lot more about this, but your breast milk is there. If you're sitting here watching me and you're between 4 to 5 months pregnant, you're already making breast milk. It's there. It comes in small amounts. A baby's stomach when they're day 1 is like a marble. It doesn't take much to fill them up, so it's there. We're watching your baby. We know if the baby's right, diapers, going again. First day, we don't expect them to eat a lot. They don't. Nature feeds them on the way out. I call it the drive-through. So as the baby's coming out, nature says, here's your takeout. Here's your to-go, because I know you're going to be awake, but then you're sleepy. So I'm going to overhydrate you. So the first day, we don't worry too much about it. And then and not that we don't worry, because we still want the baby to feed, but don't be alarmed if the baby's pretty sleepy. As long as they have 1 wet diaper and 1 dirty poopy diaper in that first day, we're looking for that. So if your milk doesn't, quote unquote, doesn't come in, because we know it's already there though, I mean, obviously our number 1 goal is to feed a baby. So if we suspect something's going on, yes, we do have formula, and yes, we might have to. The way I explain it to some moms that their babies might need formula is I look at it like medicine. And sometimes we need it and then we don't need it anymore, right? If you have a headache, you take Tylenol. You don't take it every day. So that's the thing, but you are making milk. It's there.
What about pacifier use, and when or if to introduce a pacifier to a breastfeeding baby?
Okay, so pacifiers for breastfeeding babies, when do we introduce them? Pacifier is an artificial nipple, just like a bottle. So in a perfect world, we say try to wait 3 to 4 weeks before introducing it. Let the baby, it's a different suck, let the baby get used to the breast, and then we can introduce that. Some babies like it, some don't. The thing is babies aren't born stamped. I'm the one who'll have the nipple confusion when they're born, because that would be really easy. We would just keep those artificial nipples away from them. But we don't live in a perfect world. So if your baby has a procedure, such as if you have a boy and choose to circumcise, they're going to give that baby a pacifier during the procedure, because sucking is very soothing for a baby. Then we take the pacifier out and we'll put it in the drawer of that crib, and we'll say take it home with you, but we're trying not to use it in the first 3 to 4 weeks with that.
Okay, I think we're pretty good. There were some pumping questions that came in, but I think if we wrap it up with the pumping class in the future.
Okay, so I guess there was a couple pumping questions. We're not going to address that today, but we will address it. If you can't be here next Monday, Wednesday, June 17th at 1 o'clock. Remember that all of our classes are archived, and so you can then reach into that and watch those. We did a baby care class on this Tuesday, and then Wednesday we did a baby saver class, so you can also find those classes there. So I look forward to seeing you. Remember, I'll look like this. Yep, I'm the one with the twins. That's how they tend to remember me, but I look forward to seeing you guys and helping you on this journey. So take your naps now.